Okay, so we got the platform on, now it's time for the inside arm. And just go ahead and set it in place, and you can use a square to kind of get it close. I usually do it by eye, but this is a good tool to kind of get you close to it. Okay, now it's time to make the cuts, and main thing is just taking your time with these, just like on the platform. They're real similar cuts, and you just want to take as long as it takes because you don't want to see those cuts in the end of the project. Now that I've got the front cut, I can start working on the back side, and the goal here is to get it pushed through on the side and through the back. Now I just want to point out that this arm is a little bit more challenging than a straight arm, being that it has a inside curve on the top, but as long as you take your time with the project, it usually turns out just fine. Okay, we've got our cuts, and now we can pull it through the side and tack it on there. Just remember your top isn't tacked on, so just do a light pull right now, and then you can pull the rest of the way from the top. Okay, we've got that tacked. Now it's time to work this curve. You want to do a lot of relief cuts here, and this is where it gets kind of tricky because the relief cuts really have to be close to where you almost see them, but you can hide them with your cording. So with a stripe pattern like this and these relief cuts, you want to just make sure that you're not pulling the stripes out of whack, because you'll see that in the end and it won't look right. So now that you've got your curve worked and your wrinkles mostly pulled out, you can start working this top rail. Now the trick here is to take your time. You notice the theme? Most of upholstery is taking your time, making these cuts as precise as you can, and you'll have a really nice outcome if you do. So now that we've got that cut, we can pull this through and tack it in place. Now here, a good indicator that your stripes are going to stay in line is if your stripes are pretty evenly pulled on this back side. So pay attention to that, and it'll be a good indicator. So now that we've got that tacked, we can start working this top rail on the top side. On this particular chair, the inside back will cover this part, so I can staple to the top rail. Now it's just a matter of working your way back, finishing up your relief cuts, and stapling it all down. Now, just as I said before, be mindful of how you're pulling this fabric because it'll pull things out of whack. And also with these relief cuts, if you end up pulling too hard, you can rip your fabric, and that could take you past the point of no return, and you'll have to start over. And hopefully you have enough fabric left over to start over. This particular project I did not, so I had to be really careful not to rip this thing. So here I'm checking the fabric, making sure nothing shows through when I pull the inside back over. Voila, that's the back side. So let's work this front side, and we've almost got this inside arm on. So after I've got this pulled pretty much the way that I want it, I can start working this fold up top. Now, the guy I learned from always used to say to cut the crap out. And it's a good bit of advice because the more you cut out, the less punchy it is and the nicer it looks in the end. And as I said before, just take your time because sometimes it can be kind of frustrating working with upholstery, trying to get the folds just right. So now it's time for more cutting. And this cut, I cut a long strip and use any kind of tool that won't cut the fabric, and you can kind of shove it through between the space of the platform and the front post, and that's enough to hold it down. Okay, and staple the outside part here. Now this is a view of all the relief cuts that I made and the fold, and this bottom part pulled back and stapled. Next part of this project is the inside back, which is part 3 in this series. Hope you gained some knowledge out of this one. Let's go gain some more.